Welcome to the Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. I'm so happy you found us. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on I-501 News Radio, KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. Well, good morning, everybody. Monday morning here at the Daybreak Show. Good morning, Spencer.
Hey, good morning. Happy Monday. What's going on today?
Not a lot in the news today. We're going to have a COVID update from over the weekend. We'll also check gas prices, and primary election day is tomorrow.
And we'll talk with PUD 3 about their 41st clean audit and the culture at PUD. And the Mason County Republicans are on talking about their group.
Well, since the last release on Friday, Mason County Public Health has notified that 4 additional Mason County residents have tested positive for COVID-19, bringing the total to 166 positive cases so far in Mason County. Contact interviews are continuing. 1 resident hospitalized in Mason County as of this release, and 1 outside of the county. 48 active cases. If you're showing symptoms of COVID-19, early testing is encouraged. At the earliest sign of symptoms, please reach out to the Respiratory Illness Triage line at 360-427-3615, and they can assist you in scheduling an appointment at Mason Health's drive-through COVID-19 testing center.
Voters in our vote-by-mail system have had their ballots for Tuesday's primary for weeks now. They've had quite a bit to decide as they narrow down the candidates in an election where the top 2 vote-getters advance to the November election, regardless of party. Democratic Governor Jay Inslee, who is seeking a rare 3rd term, has drawn 35 opponents. An open lieutenant governor seat has drawn 11 candidates, and an open seat in the 10th Congressional District has drawn 19 candidates. Results may take days to come in as the ballots, which must be postmarked or deposited in local drop boxes by tomorrow, arrive in elections offices throughout the week.
And Spencer and I, we went over to the Mason County Auditor's Election Office, which has moved to the back side of the Auditor's, or the Mason County Administrative Building at 411 North 5th Street. So information that you may need regarding that, it's on the back side of the building there at 411 North 5th Street. Gas prices are up a little bit, about 2 cents per gallon in the last week. 2.73, says Gas Buddy's daily survey. Gas prices are about 5.5 cents per gallon higher than a month ago, and about 45 cents per gallon lower than a year ago. The national average for gas is unchanged at about 2.17.
There's good news for users of the Marvin Road overpass, State Route 510 in Lacey. Crews have successfully completed work on the overpass well ahead of schedule. The overpass and associated ramps are open to travel. On this past Friday, the overpass and ramps were closed, allowing crews to rebuild the Interstate 5 overpass into a diverging diamond interchange. WashDOT would like to thank travelers for their patience and cooperation during the extended closure. While the overpass is opened in a new configuration, additional work continues on the project. Remaining work activities will require daytime single-lane closures. Travelers encouraged to add more time to their trips in order to help prevent delays. Travelers follow traffic signal signs and lines through the interchange. Carefully designed roadway striping, arrows, and signs direct travelers through the overpass.
Well, once that thing is all completed, it is going to take a little bit more time, but that's going to be real sharp in there. I was driving through that the other day.
Yeah.
And, you can see it. It's almost complete, and looks pretty good there. A jury has found that Washington state officials were partly responsible for the deaths of missing Utah woman Susan Cox Powell's children at the hands of their father. The News Tribune newspaper reported jurors on Friday awarded $98 million to the estates of Charlie and Braden Powell. Josh Powell was a suspect in the presumed killing of his wife in 2009 and living in Pierce County in 2012 when he killed their 2 young sons and himself in an explosive house fire. The boys were visiting Josh Powell at his home on a supervised visit with a social worker. When they were killed, Powell had locked the social worker outside.
Ramon Laureano broke out of a slump with a 3-run homer. Chris Bassett became the first Oakland starter to earn a victory this season, and the Athletics beat the Seattle Mariners 3-2 on the radio yesterday.
They'll play again tonight at 5 o'clock pregame, 6:10 first pitch as they wrap up their 4-game set against Oakland. LA comes to town tomorrow, and Colorado will be here on Friday. More Daybreak Show is coming up today. The PUD 3 will be on the air, the Mason County Republicans as well. It's all here on a Monday morning, and good morning to you. Daybreak continues.
From the iFiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Well, good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes on the Daybreak Show. Happy to have in studio via Zoom video conference. It's Lynn Eaton, Communications and Government Relations Manager for Mason County PUD number 3. Hey, Lynn, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Jeff?
I'm good. You know, last week you sent out this press release here on 41 straight years of consecutive clean bills of health from the Washington State Auditor's Office. And you know, I've reported on this, you know, every year for as long as I can remember, obviously. But for whatever reason, this one just stuck in my head, thinking 41 years.
Isn't that incredible?
Something is just incredible. I was talking to Spencer about it yesterday or last week, and it's like, it's amazing because, and I could be wrong, but I'm assuming the same person has not been doing this for 41 years. You have built in to the finance team some sort of a great culture here, and I think
exactly it.
Businesses all over want to know the secret. So let's talk about it.
Okay. I think that's exactly it. You know, we definitely have a culture at the PUD, and to hear Annette, who is our general manager now, she was our finance manager for 15 years. So a lot of the policies and internal controls that are in place were things that she started, and, you know, our finance team now has also built on those. But, you know, I remember starting with the PUD 11 years ago, and it is a culture. Everybody just feels this responsibility to be good stewards of the public's money and assets. And it's ingrained in you from the day you start that we have a huge responsibility to our community, to our ratepayers, to keep, you know, so I think just that coupled with these great policies and internal controls just really creates this formula for making it very easy for the auditor to see that our financial reporting is done fairly, it's open, it's transparent, and it's incredible though to think for 41 years that any organization can pull that off. But it doesn't surprise me every year we get it. So.
Talk to me a little bit about what goes into the audit, both from what the finance team prepares and then when the auditor's office from the state comes in to look at.
Well, fortunately, you know, we have a couple of employees, our internal auditor and Annette also both worked for the state audit office before, so they really know what the auditor is looking for. And so I had a conversation with Brian, who's our internal auditor, yesterday, because I'm not part of that, so I don't know all the ins and outs. But his response was, they don't obviously can't look through everything, right? So they're really taking a look at they're looking at it in two different areas: your financial reporting, and then sort of your what is the other word? The kind of how you follow your policies, you know. Mm-hmm. And so he says they'll take some snippets of things just to double check all the numbers match what you're reporting, and they'll look at how what you do follows your policies, and it's different every year. They pick different things to look at every year. So
you don't have any, I guess, kind of built-in goodwill. The first audit 41 years ago is just as rigorous as this one you just completed.
Absolutely. And, you know, sometimes we'll have the same auditor who may follow us for a couple years, but I don't know that we've had one that is, you know, we don't have one that comes the same every single year. So it's nice when we have somebody who's worked with us prior years just because they know who to talk to and that process. But it's different every year, and they're tough.
How does what the finance team do? And we talked about the culture, but then kind of dip into the other departments around PUD. Is it the same? Is it similar? I mean, we hear all the great awards that you guys get, the communications awards and things like that. And I guess, is it come from the commissioners down, or commissioners and Annette, or it's just fascinating that the PUD, a public district here, seems to be so well run.
Yeah. There's just an expectation of excellence. I wouldn't say that we're definitely not micromanaged. It's just very much an expectation of excellence, and that's at every level. And everybody that works for the PUD feels that. Our crews feel that when they're out doing their jobs. Our customer service reps feel that. Every single department feels that expectation of excellence. And speaking to the awards that we've received, we don't do that to really pat ourselves on the back. What we do, the reason that we do apply for awards is to benchmark ourselves against other utilities, other industries, and just make sure that what we're doing is the absolute best that we could be doing. And we are constantly doing that benchmarking, trying to figure out, are there better ways for us to do what we do?
It seems like when you hear and read on the most successful businesses, a lot of their models are they take direction from the ground up, not necessarily from the top down. Is that the same with PUD, where even the day one lineman installer, if they're able to see some tweak that they go, we may be a little more efficient in this section, it's able to go up the chain, perhaps be implemented, and there's no sort of animosity or say, well, you're new, you're not supposed to be talking like this.
Right. Yeah, no, it definitely, that's part of that excellence model. And we implemented a program a few years ago that peers can, and managers and supervisors can nominate each other for something that they did that is a process improvement or a money saving measure or, something else. And that goes through kind of a process of, is this an excellent initiative? And that gets recognized. So it's definitely encouraged for people to constantly be looking at their work and saying, how can I do this better? For sure.
PUD3 is online at pud3.org, where you can find the links to the different show notes, including this article on 41 straight years of clean audits. We'll put the links to that in the show notes rather, but you can find them too on Facebook and all across social media with great information. And again, a reminder though, because of coronavirus, PUD3 offices will remain closed for the foreseeable future. Seems like people have really been able to use those payment kiosks pretty well.
Yeah, the timing of getting those installed really worked out for us. We had the one installed downtown Shelton before we closed our offices, but we added another one up in Belfair, and we're seeing lots of traffic and increased traffic at those. We continue to try to look for ways that will be easier for customers to do business with us while our offices are closed. But we definitely want to be available for our customers while keeping employees safe and our essential staff safe and customers.
Lynn Eaton is the Communications and Government Relations Manager for PUD3 here on the air with us this morning. Good to talk with you. Good to see you. And be safe, be well, and we'll check in again real soon.
All right. Thanks.
You're listening to Daybreak on I-Fiber One News Radio.
Well, good morning again. The Daybreak Show rolls on here. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes on AM 1030 and FM 103.3. I have online via Zoom video conference from the Mason County Republicans. It's Phillip Wilson. Hey, Phillip, how you doing?
Hey, doing good. How you doing, Jeff?
I am doing well. Thanks for checking in. I was checking in with you guys, the League of Women Voters, the Mason County Democrats, just to kind of see how these groups are doing as we move into the primary with Election Day on the 4th here. It's going to be right around the corner. But just to see how the group is doing during the COVID crisis and what they're doing to help their candidates. So first, let's talk about the Mason County Republicans and kind of how many members you have, and then we can talk about this last Friday's event you had at Neyland Park.
All right, very good. Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by members, because the state kind of reorganized the way that whole process works, 12, 15 years ago. And so we don't actually have like membership lists or so on and so forth. We do, of course, have what are called precinct committee officers, and probably a lot of people are not familiar with that. But the county is broken up into at currently 43 precincts. There are about 1,000 people, or 1,000 voters each. And so we've had 30 to 35 precinct committee officers for the last 4 years, basically. And so, these people are all volunteers. And so trying to get them engaged. And of course, then there's all sorts of other people that are part-time, or they are in a precinct with a PCO or that sort of thing. And so they just kind of help here and there where they can. And some of them are specialized in different areas. They are familiar with particular ways of doing things. And so they've got an expertise that they can help us out with. So, probably 100, 150, if you're thinking about that. And then, of course, you got all sorts of people that affiliate one way or another or consider themselves, Republican. So
sure. The 35th district, which represents parts of Kitsap, parts of Thurston, but all of Mason County, it's 2 House representatives currently, Republicans, Representative Dran Griffey and Drew McEwen. Talk to me a little bit about why you think that they have been reelected year after year, and the kind of the average Mason County Republican, their values, their kind of thoughts on that, and how, if it's different than the state party or if it's different kind of from the national, because Mason County is so unique.
Yeah, well, as you know, this used to be kind of a Democratic stronghold. I think Peggy Johnson was a Republican representative, and of course we've had county commissioners who've been Republican going back. I think Bill Hunter was the first Republican elected countywide commissioner in Mason County history. And so there's obviously a lot of Democratic history in here. But I think really what you've seen over the last 20 to 30 years is really more of a polarization of ideologies, with the Republicans, I would say, focused more around what I would consider the founders' philosophy, where the Democrats, I would say, are focused, are continuing to move towards what I would call progressive ideology. And so as those move apart, I think you're seeing strongholds develop in the cities, more in urban areas where people are closer together. I think you're finding people are trending more Democrat, and then the rural areas, because their needs and the way they see things is different. I think you're seeing trend the opposite way.
You do have a good online presence at masoncountyrepublicans.org, also on facebook.com/MasonCoGOP. And I'll put the links to that here in the show notes as well. Talk to me a little bit about how your event went last Friday at Neyland Park. You had a big lineup of candidates that were there. Yeah,
we've been doing that with the Mason County women, Republican women, for the last few years. And so this year, with all that's going on, we honestly, till the last moment, and with what the governor was coming out with restrictions and stuff like that, it was really kind of touch and go. We were almost going to pull the plug on the thing because of it's supposed to be groups of 9 or that sort of thing. And of course, crowd control is not our specialty. So, and you get people that are excited, and sure. Of course during the crisis, it becomes evident, what impact policies are having, and so it really kind of came together there at the very end, the last week there, for us to be able to do that. And so we really had a good turnout of candidates. We had 4 governor candidates. and 2 for AG. I think just 1 from the lieutenant governor, and a smattering of other candidates. And we ended up having a huge turnout of people. In fact, I've had people tell me why I didn't. There was no parking, and I wasn't able to come. So we ended up having to turn people away because of missing parking. So I would say it was at least double what we normally get. People are really interested this year, and they're pretty excited.
Have you guys picked an endorsement for the governor's race or the attorney's general race? Or are you going to wait till after the primary, or?
Well, that did come up as a discussion earlier with our executive board, and at that time we decided to go ahead and stay out of it. And of course there's pluses and minuses. It can look like a lot of control by the leadership, and we certainly don't want to make it look like we're trying to control the choices of people. And there are a lot of gubernatorial candidates, and there certainly is a concern that we could be aced out because it is the top 2 primary, meaning that it doesn't matter. In fact, the Democrats lost on this end 4 years ago in the treasurer's race when they had 4 or 5 candidates split the vote, and we had 2 Republicans that ended up on the final ballot. And so we kind of had a fluke there where we ended up with a Republican treasurer, which we're grateful for. But again, that's kind of definitely something that we're facing, and there's concern that we could have that happen to us in the gubernatorial race.
Are there any talks after the primary and as we move into the general of more time in Mason County or more time in the district with these folks, and maybe not the president, but someone associated with the president campaign perhaps coming into the county, depending on what they're seeing in the races?
Well, that's definitely potential. Mason County was, I think, the only county on Puget Sound that actually went for Trump last time.
Yeah.
And so I think they're, having seen 4 years of the president, I think the Republicans are, as far as governing goes, I think they're much more confident in the direction that's going to take. And so, yeah, that's definitely a potential. Mason County is a pretty small market for voters. I mean, one of the candidates is from Bothell, and I think they have 45,000 people here. We've got 65,000, so
sure.
It's a pretty small market.
They look at those numbers. Close.
Yeah, although I do think again, I think in the rural counties, the Republicans are really going to have to work for statewide races. We're really going to have to work on pushing our numbers up in the rural counties to counterbalance. I lived in Seattle for 8 years, and then Bellevue for another 15 or 20 years and stuff. And to be able to counter what's going on in those places, which to me just seems crazy. If you see what's going on downtown Seattle and Portland, we really have to get our rural voters out in force.
Yeah, there's a lot of votes up and down that I-5 corridor, King County, Pierce County.
Yeah. Yep.
Phillip Wilson is with the Mason County Republicans. Again, the website, let me make sure I get this here, masoncountyrepublicans.org. I'm going to put that in the show notes, and on Facebook at Mason COGOP. Good to talk with you, Phillip. Good to see you, and I'm glad that event at Neyland worked out well. And when you have more of those coming down the pipe, we'll make sure we let the folks know here on the air. All right?
I would really appreciate it. Thank you, Jeff, and look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to today's Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. Again, I'm so happy and honored you found us and chose to listen. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of some of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on I-Fiber 1 News Radio KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. Thank you so much again, and talk with you next time.